That was a really good intro. I'm very excited about this message. Actually, I was so excited I wrote it like a month ago or more, which is not like me. Actually, it was in January I wrote it. Sarah asked me if I would speak to the youth group in January, and I was like, sure. And then I sat down and I wrote, and she asked me to do it like later that week. And so I was excited about that. And then I sat down and I wrote out a message that I needed to instead preach in March. So I was excited enough about it to write it then. But I've titled this message, Your Heart is a Suitcase, because that is more catchy than my original title, which was, This is Getting Ridiculous, Just Surrender Already. So I heard that and I was like, that's a lot better. I'm going with that. So most of my messages, you guys have maybe heard me before, several of you have, but they always almost start with someone else's idea. I am not that like inventive or original, but I hear someone's idea and it's like my brain just kind of gets stuck on it. And this one is no exception. So my husband and I, we went to a conference. I dragged him along last October. He went to a conference with me. It's Dr. Rob Reiner. He has written a lot of books, but Soul Care is like the one that everybody's heard of. And so we went to a conference together, and one of the things, it was excellent. If you have the chance, read the book Soul Care. It is excellent, or anything by him. But he said there something that stuck with me. He said, your heart is a suitcase. You have to unpack the baggage in it, or you'll never have room for anything new. And that just like kind of burned in me and I started to just think like, what am I holding on to, and what am I not getting because I'm holding on to these other things? He, talked about can only hold so much. And so that's just kind of rolled around in me a lot, and so it's turned into the message that I have today. Start with a story about our family. Sully is generally in all of my stories because he's just very naturally funny. So every family vacation, or the last several years anyway, I have everyone pack their own bags, which my boys are older, everyone's capable, mostly, of taking a list and just packing a bag. I don't want to do that anymore. I don't have small children. This is one of these things delegation. So I make the list. It almost never gets followed, which has resulted in some fun vacation memories. Ironically, my husband is the one that generally ends up without a toothbrush or one pair of underwear or something to that effect, but there's always a Walmart nearby. On the last trip we took, so I did the same thing. Handed out all the lists. It's like bullet points in Microsoft Word that are the ones you can check off and everything. It's like a pretty good list, So I do a pretty good job on it. Hand out the lists. Sully is my one that is like always really happy to cross things off a list. Like if he has one, he is getting it done. So he takes the list and he immediately goes off to his bedroom and he goes in the bathroom and he's all over the place. You would think just like really getting after it. He comes back and he has something called a weekender bag, thanks to my mother. We all have these nice bags that will perfectly fit several days worth of things. And he just like plops it in the living room and it just falls flat. It's like there's nothing in it at all. Like we were gonna be gone like 5 days. And I'm in there packing mine. It's like barely zipping, like where it will barely get zipped. It's just completely filled up. And I'm like, did you get the things on the list? And he's, well, I don't need all those things. And I'm like, yeah, you do. They're on the list. Like, that's why they're on the list. And I'm like, well, we started to go through things. I'm like, you have one pair of jeans. We're going to be gone like 5 days. And he's like, well, I always wear one pair of jeans for 5 days. Like, and then he's got all these really good at negotiating it. He's like, I thought we were staying in an Airbnb. Don't we have a washer and dryer? And I'm like, well, what if you need like a just in case outfit? And he's just like, What if you spill something? Well, he's always got something spilled on him. He doesn't care. And so I'm like packing, thinking of all these scenarios and thinking ahead and all these what ifs, all these things to go wrong. And Sully is just like excited for the vacation and kind of just not sweating it. Mine's like bursting and his is nearly empty. And I thought about that, and I was thinking about your heart as a suitcase, and I thought, that is just a lot like life. I have walked through pain, grief, anger, resentment, so many other things in life that Sully, thank God, has not experienced. And those experiences, they shape us, even in the form of packing for a trip because you forgot that one thing that one time, and so you'll never forget it again. It's on the master list. But even though you have all those experiences, my point today here, or one of them, is you can't let them weigh you down. Just because you've been through something, not just, because you've been through something hard, doesn't mean that you have to keep carrying it. Jesus says in Matthew 11:28-30, "Come to me, all who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." Probably all very familiar with that verse. He wants to take our burdens, but he cannot take what we won't give. When we surrender our baggage to Jesus, we find rest for our souls. But the key word is surrender. We love the idea of Jesus carrying our burdens, but we often want to control the ones that he gets. That's not surrender. At best, sometimes we might label it as obedience. And don't get me wrong, I love obedience. I've preached whole messages on obedience. It's gotten me really far, like really far. I've relied on it a lot, and it hasn't always been wrong. Obedience is a good thing. But the biggest problem with obedience is that you can obey God and still be in control, which doesn't quite sound right. But one of the things that I've realized through experience and looking back is that obedience, it leaves self intact, that kingdom of self, because we're still deciding what we want to, how we want to obey and what we want to do. It leaves those things in the suitcase. Surrender looks like handing it all over. Give him the whole thing. It says, I'm willing to give it all to you. I trust you. See, God doesn't want us striving to do these things ourselves, even everyday life, not even just the hard things. I'm talking about everything. He wants us to surrender it to him. He gave us free will. If he wanted blind obedience, he wouldn't have given us a choice. That's the difference in the heart. He wants willing hearts, not forced behavior. And I have found surrender problems, they aren't usually a will problem. They are a trust problem. Sometimes you really want God to take these things, like really, really do. But it's not a will. It is a trust problem. We are so afraid of what might happen if we just let go. It's like a suitcase that we've crammed too full. There's things inside that we are just too scared to unpack. Fear keeps us gripping what God is asking us to release. I once went on a trip for work to upstate New York. It wasn't like New York City, New York. It was like, looked just like Iowa, basically, or Illinois. It just was around Rochester. But it was one of the first times I was really away from my family for any length of time. I had little kids, and I was away like 4 or 5 days. And I missed everyone so much that the whole week I was like picking up little things everywhere. And I'm notorious, Megan will laugh about this, but I go to a gas station and I see something that's really fun. I'm like, well, I have to have this keychain for this kid. They're gonna love it. So I was picking up all sorts of fun gifts, weird shirts, all sorts of things for the kids. They were little. I thought, when I get back, I want to have at least some fun things from mom being gone. But then I packed to go home. And I realized that it was going to be almost impossible to fit everything I had accumulated. I was trying to figure out, what am I going to leave in this hotel room for like these cleaners to just keep? But I got it all stuffed in my bag, my carry-on. I had a big purse. I think, again, thanks to my mother, I had a very large purse. I had a backpack. Everything was like, again, barely zipping, breaking zippers. Every pocket was full. And somehow I got it all in. And I'm like, I don't check bags, I don't trust anything, so I lug it all through the airport. And so I'm like walking through this airport and my shoulders are burning, I'm dragging bags behind me, like showing up there like I just barely made it because I'm totally out of strength. And I thought it all would work, and then I got there and the lady on the plane, the flight attendant's like, well, that's never gonna fit. I'm like, no, it'll fit. Like, 31 claims this bag will fit overhead, and I'm certain that it will. And she's like, that is not gonna fit. So I'm like the person on the plane that's like, thing. It did not fit. So she, and everybody was like looking at me. It was very weird. But like thinking like, what am I gonna do with this? And she's like, we're just gonna check it. It's gonna be fine, lady. So we checked the bag, all the work, all of the hauling things through the airport, the whole ordeal, and I just was told, like, it doesn't fit, okay? You can't keep cramming things in and think it's going to fit. It will not work. Sooner or later, that weight, it gets exhausting. And you know what? Also, I'm also a fan of airports. When I got to the airport, there was all these fun little stores that I wanted to buy things from, and I couldn't fit one more thing. There was like a fudge store. There was all of this stuff, but my bags were packed so solid that nothing fun could come in. I had all of these things. And I probably could have gotten by with one pair of pants that week too, by the way. So like, it would have worked fine. And, I packed that bag. I put all of those things in there, right? I'm talking about things that we have packed. But here is the other part of life and your heart and all the experiences you carry with you, is that some of you, me, are carrying burdens that aren't your fault. You're carrying things that were put on you, that you never asked for those things. The ones that seem like they'll never ease up, that hit you like a ton of bricks. Jesus doesn't want you to haul those around either. 1 Peter 5:7 says, cast all your anxiety on him because he cares for you. All of it. Whether you've taken it on yourself or somebody put it on you. All of it. 2 Corinthians 12 reminds us that we are made perfect in our weakness. In our weakness. Not when we manage everything super well, but when we surrender and let Jesus be our strength. And some of us have gotten really used to the weight. And if you haven't guessed by now, I wrote this message for myself. So I'm preaching to myself here. You guys just get to listen. But some of us have gotten really used to the weight, gotten really strong over the years. You can handle a lot, and you think that you can just keep carrying it without repercussion. But guess what? It is never just about you. Unforgiveness, anxiety, bitterness, these things, they hurt you, but they ripple out and they hurt other people too. Randy gave a great example about how your thoughts turn into feelings and they turn into behaviors, and then maybe the people in your house don't get the best version of you. It's the same, we're talking about the same thing here. Other people feel these things too. For every woman in this room, I promise that there is someone out there who loves you. You're never truly alone. People watch us, they pick up what we carry. Mothers, you know this. And I have seen it. Our kids, they pick up the good and the bad. We pass things on even when we don't mean to. And sometimes we even do this without realizing it. So I have great examples of this, but how many of you have ever looked at someone in your family and you thought, I am never going to be like that? Like, I'm going to forgive easily. I'm not going to hold on to stuff. I'm not going to get angry like so-and-so. I'm not going to worry about what other people think. There's a danger in this too. See, if we can let the opposite of what we've seen or experienced also run our lives instead of letting God lead. So instead of saying, I want to act like Jesus, you might be saying, I will never act like my dad. I am never going to be like my mom or grandma or my friend or, whoa, I do not want to be like that. I'm going to be like they're over here. I'm going to be so far away from that. No, I'm not going to do that to my kids. And what happens? That thing that we're running from ends up being the thing that we serve. And it shapes us instead of letting God shape us. Now, don't get me wrong. Being angry all the time, not a good thing. But it's aligning yourself with the truth that's in here, what God says, instead of saying, I'm not going to do that thing. I want to do the opposite of that thing. I'm going to do this thing here. Some of this is not easy to talk about, but most of us know that we have some baggage. Some of you, though, like I would say me 6 months ago, maybe. Some of you might be thinking, I'm doing fine. Or even, I'm doing pretty good. I've dealt with grief. I've had that in my life, but I processed that well. I didn't let that really get me down. I forgive. I'm not bitter. I am so glad, though, that this message is helping other people. I have been that person. And again, here I am preaching a message that I wrote for myself. For those of you like me who may be oblivious to your baggage, I have a special story for you. This isn't a real story. This is one I actually got off the internet. It's not a Sully story. I actually read it in a blog, and then I changed almost all of it for my message. Again, I started with a thought and just kind of went from it, but it hit me pretty hard. And I don't know what the original name was in the story, but I chose the name Mabel for the story because I was pretty convinced nobody here would be called Mabel, so that way no one would think it was condemning. So the story goes like this. Mabel is walking along when Jesus crosses her path. He asks her if she'll pull a small wagon with a few rocks for him. He's building an altar not far away and wants her to help. She is thrilled to help. She takes the map that he's prepared, memorizes it, gets all the instructions, and starts off down the path singing and joyful. The wagon is light, the path is smooth, the weather is beautiful. Along the way, she passes a man selling rocks. They're bigger and they're prettier, so she squeezes some into her wagon. And she thinks, Jesus is going to be so proud of my extra effort. He deserves the very best for the altar he's building. She continues down the path, faithfully following the map. Then she sees a sign for a village famous for geodes, which are sparkly rocks. Like, everybody's familiar with a geode, right? You cut it open and it's like crystals. It's just like jewelry. And if you've seen my house, my landscaping, by the way, my husband has lugged home the most like giant rocks from places for me. So I am Mabel. Spoiler alert. So, geodes, sparkly rocks. The village is off the path, but she can't resist. So she heads off that way, thinking she can fit a few into her backpack. She's still singing and praising God, hoping Jesus appreciates her enthusiasm for the task he's given her. As Mabel walks, she keeps collecting rocks alongside the road, from other travelers, even from places off the map. Eventually, she buys a bigger wagon. It's heavier, but it's able to hold more rocks. So that's okay. She can handle the extra weight if it's for Jesus. As Mabel continues down the path with her new wagon, the path begins to narrow. The larger wagon is pretty hard to maneuver down the narrowing path. Mabel has to really focus to continue the journey. Her shoulders are burning from carrying the extra rocks in her backpack, and she's getting exhausted. She slows to turtle speed as she struggles to pull her wagon down the path. Her enthusiasm has faded, but she's trying hard to be positive. She's fighting with her thoughts, though, starting to doubt herself and questioning Jesus. Why did he ask me to do this? Why didn't he warn me the path was going to get narrow? Her mind races with fear as she worries she's going to disappoint her Savior. Her body and her heart are ready to give up. Then Jesus appears on the path. He approaches her and gently asks what's wrong. Through tears, Mabel says, "This is too much for me. I'm tired and I'm worried I can't complete the journey. I can't do what you've asked of me." Jesus doesn't say anything to her. He just unzips her backpack and begins unpacking rocks. He removes every rock except the ones he gave her. And when he's done, he turns to her and says, "I know you wanted to help, but when you add all these other things, you don't have the strength for what I've asked of you. Let's finish this journey together. I'll carry what you've picked up along the way." This isn't a real story, but, obviously it might as well be. You can all probably see yourselves in this story and imagine a time where you've picked up several extra rocks, maybe not doing exactly what Jesus has asked of you. The biggest point that I took away from this, and there's lots of them, but we aren't Jesus. Don't pick up what he hasn't asked you to carry. The problem wasn't the assignment. It's how we did it, the role that we took in it. We can and should aspire to be like Jesus, but we should not replace him. We are not saviors. We surrender to a Savior. Let him carry what he needs to carry. And I've said, that this definitely comes from life for me. Sometimes you get to thinking, you get like Mabel, and you get to the point where you're like, this is too much. I'm questioning the assignment. Why did Jesus ask this of me? The problem wasn't the assignment. I fell into this trap so easily, trying to do everything to change someone. And all of that work and all of that effort probably would have been much better served on my knees in prayer instead of trying to do every single thing. Is not God more capable than we are? Galatians 6 was one that Randy didn't necessarily quote it, but she said that we're meant to carry each other's burdens. And I have read this one a lot and justified why I'm working as hard as I am. And I'm going to read it today. I'm actually going to read most of Galatians 6 because I feel like context is really important, so it's not super long. Galatians 6, the header is doing good to all. And it says, "Brothers and sisters, if someone's caught in a sin, you who live by the Spirit should restore that person gently. But watch yourselves, or you also may be tempted. Carry each other's burdens, and in this way you will fill the law of Christ. If anyone thinks there's something when they're not, they deceive themselves. Each one should test their own actions. Then they can take pride in themselves alone without comparing themselves to someone else, for each one should carry their own load. Nevertheless, the one who receives instruction in the word should share all good things with their instructor. Do not be deceived. God cannot be mocked. A man reaps what he sows. Whoever sows to please their flesh, from their flesh will reap destruction. Whoever sows to please the Spirit, from the Spirit will reap eternal life. Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. Therefore, as we have opportunity, let us do good to all people, especially to those who belong to the family of believers." How many of you have become weary in doing good? The rest of you are liars. I know, because we are women, we are wives, mothers, grandmothers, sisters, friends. This is what we do. We take care of people. You're caretakers, all of us. In this passage, verse 2 specifically says, and I've misquoted it lots of times, again for justification, but it says, "Carry each other's burdens, and in this way you will fulfill the law of Christ." But then in verse 5, just a couple verses later, it says each person should carry their own load. So what is it? So I had to actually do some real research on this one and understand, I'm like, what is Paul talking about right here? The difference is in the details, and it's the difference between the word carry each other's burdens, and each person is responsible for carrying their own load. So the word burden in Greek, which I bet you didn't think you'd get a lesson in Greek today, is bare, I think. It means heavy, overwhelming weight, crushing difficulties, things that are too big for one person to handle alone. Think grief, crisis, temptation, poverty, illness. The weight of life has compounded on you after years and years and years and years. The kinds of burdens that are crushing to carry alone. The word in Greek for load is phortion, meaning a personal pack, an expected responsibility, something appropriate for each individual to carry. Daily duties, choices, moral accountability, work ethic, your personal spiritual growth. Imagine a hike. Everyone carries their own backpack on a hike. Unless you have kids, then sometimes you're carrying theirs too. But this is not about children, little children. Everybody carries their own backpack. But if somebody breaks their leg, you're probably not like, wow, that really is terrible for you. Your backpack's kind of heavy on that broken leg. No, this is a burden, is what we've transitioned into. You're going to all work together to carry that person, probably, and their stuff for a little while until they heal. Helping each other with the overwhelming stuff, and then let other people help you with the overwhelming stuff. But don't expect others to carry what's yours to carry, and don't carry for someone else what's theirs to carry. Stop picking up other people's rocks, Hollie. 1, Jesus didn't ask you to carry those. 2, what I've learned, and there's plenty of psychology out there to support this one too. When you carry it for someone else, they don't get stronger, they get weaker. And the last one is when you carry more than what God intended for you to carry, you get burned out and you lose focus on the jobs He's already assigned of you. Thoughts, feelings, behaviors, they're shaped by what you're doing, and burnout doesn't help anyone. Trying to control the outcome of every circumstance, it doesn't make you less stressed. Like, we all know this, right? It makes you more stressed out when you try to control things. It's not what you think. Always being stuck in fight or flight mode, that takes a toll on your body and your mind. It's unhealthy. It's unhealthy for your soul, for your mind, and for your body. The burdens that we've chosen to carry, whether they were put on us or we put them on ourselves, we have to give them to Jesus. Faith is trusting Jesus and surrendering to Him the rocks that you shouldn't be carrying. The promise in John 8:36, it says, if the Son sets you free, you will be free indeed. True freedom isn't found in carrying everything ourselves, but in letting Jesus set us free from what we were never meant to carry. When we give Him those burdens, we step into the genuine freedom He desires for us. So, how do we do it? This is really brilliant. You guys are going to love this. I have 2 points. The first is start by looking at your heart. Really look. There's probably something obvious that you're thinking about now that you know you need to lay down and you're afraid. What might happen if I stop holding it all together? That's the obvious one. Start there. But if nothing jumps out, pray Psalm 139, 23, and 24. Or just ask God, what am I carrying that I shouldn't? And then wait and listen. If something comes to your mind, pray about it. Tell God that you want to hand it over and ask Him to take the pain, replace it with peace. Sometimes relief comes right away. I've heard other people say that, not necessarily for me. Sometimes you have to keep giving it to Him day after day after day after day. This has been my experience. Our minds often lag behind our hearts. Apparently, I have very deep trenches in my brain that require quite a bit of rewiring. Remind yourself daily that you've given that over to God. Nope, I've given that thing over to God. I am going to pray about it instead. Psalm 68:19 says, Praise be to the Lord, to our God and Savior, who daily bears our burdens. That means every single day. God would rather hear you trying to give it up again and again than just give up and carry it all by yourself. And the second one, also brilliant, just pause before you act. Take a minute. Watch for the next time of conflict or crisis. What's your initial response? Do you go straight to prayer? Do you go straight to problem solving? Or maybe procrastination? The right answer is prayer in this one, but I definitely tend to the other two much more. If I can solve the problem, I will take that and I will solve that for you. And if I can't, I'm just maybe going to ignore it or recommend someone else, delegation. But do we really think, we have to step in immediately in every situation? Is it always life or death? If we can't stop and pray, we're really not putting that trust in God. We are always going to be better off to ask God for wisdom. And maybe God responds with, you should step in. That could be the answer. It's possible. But at least you know then. We have to really trust God. And maybe in a situation, and this could be really hard, maybe all he wants you to do is pray. And I say all with like an asterisk, because all you can do is pray is the most powerful thing that you can do. We have to stop instinctively acting. We've got to rewire those thoughts. We've got to make some new channels. We will always do more for the ones we love by stopping to pray than going into mom mode and fixing it and going to the bedroom and finding 4 more pairs of pants and solving every problem. God wants to bless your surrender. That's what I want you to know today. Not your striving, not your obligation, your surrender. When you let go, you don't lose, you gain. You make room for peace, freedom, healing, joy, the fruit of the Spirit. Today's message is not about trying harder to carry less. It's about trusting God enough to hand it all over. Walk out lighter. Let him carry what only he was meant to carry. As I wrap up here today, what am I doing? Great on time. We're going to take just a few minutes. We're not going to play music or anything fancy. We're just going to take some time and quietly ask God what he wants to take from us, what he wants us to give up. You can pray to yourself. I don't care. You can sit, stand. You can come to the front. You can go to the back. Someone will always pray for you no matter what. If you ask for prayer, at least in this church, there is always going to be a group gather around you and pray. God just wants your surrender. He doesn't care what it looks like. He wants you to do whatever you need to do to lay down those burdens and find rest. Do not carry out all the burdens that you brought in. Leave here today free.